neighbor.
Hey, neighbor.
Hey, Gio.
Hey, neighbor.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Welcome
Gio.
back.
Welcome. Yes.
This is a continuation. We've been in this coffee shop for hours now, and so we're doing recording again. So some of the ambient sounds are going to be the same. So
Yeah, we've been talking for...
yeah, we love to talk. The sci-fi has been so white.
Always.
And there have been, but there's some sci-fi where there's a really great representation of brown and black people, just like one-offs. I remember reading a story by Ray Bradbury, who was one of the writers for The Twilight Zone.
My alien father, yes.
Yes. He wrote a short story about how there were black people on Mars, and these white people were going to show up, and the black people were like, let's lynch them like they used to do us. And then, like, in the story, they eventually were like, maybe we're going to be better than those people.
Right, because I guess I'm just like...
It was a really good story for me to read.
I guess
not
I'm
kill
just
them right
those
away.
people. Like, I'm just always like, let's be friends. Let's hold hands. Let's get over
It's
this.
hard.
Do you
I don't
remember?
know.
Have you ever seen the show Red Dwarf?
No.
It's a British sci-fi show.
Like the star form red dwarf. Okay.
But it's a spaceship called the Red Dwarf.
Oh.
One of the main characters is black.
That's cool.
And it's an
Yeah.
old show. It's from like the early 80s.
Yeah. I want to also shout out Night of the Living Dead as one of the first black and white films that had a black protagonist. That very spoiler alert, the black man dies.
Always.
But he dies last, and he dies and he dies without being infected. He's killed by the police.
Of course.
It's a very poignant, still relevant film that I think everyone should watch.
Yeah. I don't know if I have enough breath for all that, but just...
It's really good.
I know. It's just...
It's
Lord.
really good.
Another time, I guess. I'll have to watch it first, of course.
Something
but-
that I've been watching or just finished the last episode of that I think is great representation is One Day at a Time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you seen
They're
it?
still Cuban,
I
but
haven't
it's fine.
seen the second the second season yet.
I just finished the third season.
I'm pretty
And
sure-
they're
sorry.
on the verge of canceling it. And I'm like,
Yeah,
why?
because
The episode
it's-
where they talk about Abuelita's immigration story just hit me so hard. I just like sitting there in my bed
Yeah.
bawling.
I think the issue with it is the fact that the Hispanic culture is not okay with queer as a whole, because my mom watched it with me and it was fine up until the point where the girl
daughter
comes
had
out.
a girlfriend.
Yep, and then she checked out, and I was like, "That's the whole point of the show, is though to get you out of that old mindset."
Yep.
But it didn't work.
My family is.
I get it though. Like,
My
I'm not
family's pretty-
shaming my mom. It was
yeah.
just like I don't know how else to talk about it though. So I don't know.
Right. My family's pretty open to it. They weren't at first, but then my cousin came out as a lesbian, and then I came out as queer. So slowly over time, they've just kind of accepted it. My aunt recently in the Christmas parade flew a rainbow flag that said "Hate will not win." That I actually had to buy for her on Amazon because she couldn't figure it out.
Aw.
Yeah, but she
texted
figured
me-
out that
she
was
texted
needed.
me one morning and
Yeah.
she said, Flores, how do I buy an LGBTQ flag?
I love them.
And I was
That's
like,
cute.
on Amazon. She's like, can
it
you
for
do
me?"
it for me?
I kind of like the fact that Abuelita in the show is pretty much single for the most part,
Yeah.
because that's another thing.
She
And
refuses to get with Dr. B, and I love it. It's
Yeah.
so
But
cute.
She
then,
just keeps
like-
them on a string. I love it.
I think that's pretty.
That's
powerful though,
powerful
because
as fuck.
most of our family settings growing up requires that you're married,
Which
your
is funny,
whole
though,
life.
that you say that because, I mean, if you've watched the whole show or even the second season, there's a lot of, she puts a lot of pressure on Lupe
to get married
Yeah.
and have a husband. But that's also just
Because
a
she
double
tells her,
standard
like-
that moms have.
Like,
I think
you're,
that's probably-
like, you're only worth something if you're married.
Yeah.
Right, and
And
that's
But the thing that I've noticed with Latina moms is that they say one thing, but then they model something completely different to
those
us that we
indirectas,
pick up.
yes.
Yeah.
That's what we pick up. That's where we get our female empowerment from, I think, is that, like, mom says you gotta have a husband and you gotta, like, depend
my
on a
mama don't
man.
say
but
that
then,
shit to me.
well, like there was a moment in time where that was kind of like the mentality, but then everything she was doing was like anti that. So
Right.
I was just like, you say
I don't
all
know.
this.
Sometimes I feel like my family's a little bit of an outlier. Like my parents,
you're-
for example, like they've been together over 20 years and they're not legally married.
Yeah. See, that's weird.
Yeah, that's actually huge.
That's weird.
That's a huge deal. Yeah.
Like that's a thing. And
In a good way.
know.
Weird in a
Yeah.
good way, though, because it shows that you don't need this contract to be in a relationship that's
lot of
actually
my
committed.
family-
my aunt did leave her husband until he got his shit together.
That's good.
She even moved out. She left
No,
him the
that's
house
good.
and everything. Got her own little house.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
My family, there's still parts of my family that don't recognize my marriage because it wasn't through the Catholic Church.
Ugh, yuck.
So I know, but I mean,
My family doesn't even like. Here's the thing: is it was something I heard on Latinos Who Lunch, and it was we are Catholic in culture, not in religion.
yes.
And it so much applies to my family because we're not even Christmas and Easter Catholics. We are funeral. Sometimes attend the church part of quinceañeras Catholics.
And that's a
Yeah.
boring
That's
part,
the only
too.
time that we ever go into a church is usually when someone has died,
Or has a party.
Oh, snap.
or we just go to the party.
Yeah, I
We
like
don't
the
even go
party
to the
better.
church part.
I had to go to the church part for the quince stuff because I was a
Yuck.
dama so many fucking times.
I was a dama once, and it was the worst.
I was one for 3
had
or
to
4
dance
times.
with this boy with sweaty hands.
Oh, yeah.
And it was awful.
I remember that episode in One Day at a Time when she had her quince, but it was only to
And
please
she wore a suit, too,
her
right?
family.
Yeah, it was to please her family. Though. I think that's why we didn't have that stuff.
She originally had a dress.
her mom
and
was
then
like, "You
her,
can
no,
wear your-
her, and then her grandmother
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, "You're not crying tears of joy," and she's like, "This is an insult to me." And then the grandmother altered it into a pantsuit. And that's
Yeah.
when Elena started crying. And she was like, that's the response I wanted.
Yeah.
She ended up having the quince because Lupe said it was like her way of reclaiming something.
Culture or
She ended up
something.
switching it on her.
You know, that show actually has, because her mom's a soldier.
Yes.
Was, I mean, age-wise and all
Yeah,
that.
and they
but-
do teach.
Yeah, they did have a whole episode about her getting mental health and talking
Oh,
about
the
it.
whole show they mention it the whole time.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty great.
I feel,
because-
there's a specific episode that I think I know what you're talking about where they
Yeah.
specifically talk about mental health, and I want my mother specifically to watch that
Because that's
episode.
another thing that is not like was not allowed as I was growing up was any kind of like counseling. No, we can fix it. We got Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's not a problem. That's a rich people thing. That's
Yeah.
a white thing. You
I
don't
mean,
use-
I have
Right.
been,
My mom
I
does
have
not.
TRICARE though, so
The
it would
thing
have
is,
paid
like,
it. But,
oh, my mom still doesn't believe in depression.
right.
My
So-
family's coming around. They've had a lot of eye-opening experiences.
I think it's because she's so like still stuck in her like machismo kind of like anti-femme mentality. Like she's still so Mexican.
Yeah.
We're kind of backwards in that regard because for traditionally for my family, I guess it's a matriarchy. So for us, it's like you can't have a mental health issue. You have to stay strong for everybody around you. You got to clean up all the other messes before you can fix yourself. And so for me, putting myself first, that was
you
like
breaking
earth-shattering.
generational trauma.
Yeah, and it's like I explained it to my mom the other day because that was the first time we talked about race ever. And she's because
Really?
because my family is actually pretty prejudiced against and fucking they're
light skinned.
most
For
of
the
my
most- the
family
ones I've
is
met.
yeah, but I mean they're still I don't know so but they don't like to acknowledge that because there was
They don't acknowledge that they're Afro-Latino.
Actually, none of them are except for me. I'm the only one that was born with the fucking traits because my great grandmother apparently, we don't have records of our family to a certain extent.
I mean,
so
yeah, that's just part of being
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, and my dad looks somewhat Afro-Latino.
He's got some like definite features, and I feel like in his youth he probably really
I mean, the afro
shouted.
in the bell bottoms.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
like, I think my mom and I were talking about it, and she's like, I think that some of your anger might come from your great grandmother. And I was like, oh shit. But in a way, my great grandmother was forced to get married at like 14, forced to have a family against her will. She was hot as shit, and she slept with everyone because her husband was a drunk and an abuser. But I'm like, that's kind of why I chose to be my own person, though, because instead of acknowledging any of it, all the women just beat the shit out of their daughters and kept moving. So I don't know. It's really weird. I'm like, why are y'all like this? Why?
That's why you got to break the cycle, though. And that's definitely what me and my sister have been. We talk about this, and like my sister and I are both very open with our mom about our mental issues. My sister was recently diagnosed with borderline personality disorder.
That's intense.
So she started taking medications, and my mom tried to blame herself for a while.
That's hard.
And I had to explain it to her, like, you literally have no control over this as much as you have a control over me being allergic.
Mothers internalize a lot of stuff.
They do.
To all these things that I'm allergic to. Like, you have no control over that. I don't either.
True.
It just happens. I'm pretty open about my anxiety with her, you know.
It took me a long time.
Yeah.
And I actually had to tell my mom to please not make comments about my
weight,
physical appearance.
Yeah,
for a
my
while,
weight was really a problem for my mom.
It's always been that way. I remember when I was a kid, I was real stick-like. And then when I hit puberty, it just like all went away.
Oh,
and they would call me
never
doble
in there.
hamburguesa con queso.
Oh,
That's fucked up.
Isn't
I
it?
don't know. I don't know. Anytime I told I remember there were moments in my life, and trigger warning, like I'm just going to be talking about some real heavy shit here.
we have for a while. Sorry,
Yeah.
this whole thing should come with a label.
Yeah, please. I remember like talking to my mom and be like, Mom, what if I killed myself? Like, seriously.
And she would say something like, then do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Go for it.
For my mom, it was like, look at all that I've done for you. So it was kind of like accusatory. Like,
Like,
you
how
can't,
dare you?
Right. Like, I didn't go through all this just for you to choose to end it. And then it's like, so my life was not mine. in a
Yeah,
way.
you're decentering me and my problems right now.
Right.
That's rude.
I like, dude, literally,
There's a lot of
almost
pressure
30.
Yeah.
And last weekend was the first time my mom and I have talked about what happened in the past.
I'm glad that you're doing that. That's really important
And
that we
we-
talk to our moms.
We
like
actually
that.
had to talk about one of the family's like deepest, darkest secrets. And she thinks that
was
my
it?
sister,
Oh, it's really heavy.
I think it's a little,
I don't know if we want to
I
discuss
can't
this
talk
on air.
about it via,
But it is something that, like, I think it is important that we talk to our families about issues that are sensitive.
Yeah.
Because it's important for us to get reaffirmed when we need it. And that's what your family's supposed to do. And if you're not getting that from your family, if you're experiencing toxicity, you should really try to remove yourself
Well,
from
I feel
that.
like it's because of their own families. Like my mom was just angry.
Yeah.
She didn't explain what was going on. And she was just like, suck it up. We got to keep working, keep going. And so, when she would always tell me to relax, it was like, I don't know what that is because
I've never experienced that.
That's not how I go through this. I just keep working more. And so,
or relax when I'm dead, Mom. That's what you've taught me.
right. And
Basically.
then, like my mom, because now she has like health insurance and is getting paid better. And,
She's able to relax herself.
well,
and
she's with medication. And that was another thing that
That's
was
good,
a
yeah.
very tough topic.
So she takes antidepressants?
Yeah. And it didn't work for a while, but now is when we're able to talk about things without anger, without lashing out at people. Like it's just a normal conversation.
Yes.
It's like, it's not a big deal. I just want to talk about it.
My mom will have conversations with us, but every now and then if it gets to something that she really won't talk about, what she does is completely disconnects.
Yep. My mom would do
So
that.
she just like, it's like she just checks out and she's just like not even there anymore.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point sometimes where I get so frustrated that I just start like yelling and crying and she still just doesn't
literally
snap out of it.
I tell my mom things. She's like, that didn't happen. I'm like,
Yeah, it did.
It did.
I saw it.
And
I
I'm
saw
like,
it happen. I was there with you
And
when
I was
it
like,
happened.
Mom, I haven't been able to tell you because I didn't think you were stable enough to hear what you did during this time.
Yeah,
And so,
you hurt me.
Right.
That was a lot of that. You know what? I had to have that conversation, and I knew that the only way to have it was in the car where she couldn't fucking leave.
Yep, that's always when I do it. Yeah.
I was
You
like,
trap them.
because I had to tell her, like, I had to let her understand how anytime that she brings up the successes of other people who were in my same class.
Oh God, yeah.
Like when I was in high school or whatever, that to me is really like,
it's like they're
damaging.
undermining yours.
Yeah. And like I told her, I'm like, you know, I feel like I am successful in my own ways and I'm doing the things that I want to do. But when you do this to me, you're really hurting me. And I also had to have that same conversation about when she brings up my weight in that way too. Like you're body shaming me and that's not cool. And I had to,
right.
it runs in the family, homegirl.
Right. So that rice and beans